down that. What do you say?
Are you filming it?
Sorry for hugging at you like that. Right guys, here we are, the 1,000 Monkeys. It's poetry all the way. You can drink and eat and still eat your burger. That guy in the beard and the glasses and the white t-shirt at the back said, and I still eat my burger and this and I said, of course you can. And he said that he was a heckler and a tickler. So I'm warning the post that if you see him approaching you, he might heckle you or tickle you, and he said he'd actually do both. So be afraid, be very afraid. As you can see, I have poetry on a stick, but I shall try to do this set stickless. I was Ireland's first poet in residence in a secondary school in Wicklow. And I had done about 4 classes when they suddenly said, we need someone to do 2C. And I was tired of the sound of my own voice reading poetry and getting kids to do poetry, and I thought, yeah, I'll do class 2C to see what else there is to do. And everybody sniggered and they laughed. And I wondered why they sniggered and they laughed. And I went in to do 2C and I found out what the sniggering was all about. There was 15 Irish travellers in the class. They'd just come into the area and they were suddenly planted in a school. The 15 Irish travellers had 15 ferrets. Every kid had brought his pet ferret to the classroom. So I'm looking at all these little ferrety eyes looking back at me thinking, right, nothing in my preparation has prepared me for this. So I do the most obvious thing. I go, although I know it's a ferret, I go, what is it? And they go, it's a ferret, English. Well, that's an English accent. Oh, well, maybe they travelled to England and came back or something like that. And I asked about ferrets. And they became the teachers, and they told me everything I didn't know about a ferret, and I came out very knowledgeable at the end, and they all said, well, how was class 2C? And I said, oh, it's fantastic. And they go, no, class 2C. And I go, yeah, I love that. And they were totally mystified. They then outsourced me to the scouts in the morning, and I write about love, life, sex, death, anything that matters. And I was suddenly doing year 7 to 11 Boy Scouts. I coped with that, and in the afternoon they outsourced me to an old folks home. And they were all the widows of British war veterans in the middle of Ireland. Don't ask me why that was. And Mabel, who this poem is about, was telling me all about cricket. And she was trying to explain cricket to me for an hour. And I still didn't understand. And then the cricket comes on the telly, and there's a hush, and everybody looks at the telly, and I try to display my newfound knowledge of the game, and I say, is someone out? And it wasn't. It was a streaker. And that's what the hush was all about. And then I saw the attraction of cricket. Streakers. I have watched many test matches over the last 30 years, and I haven't seen a streaker since. Anyway, enough about that. This is Mabel's story. I was reading a poem about making love to a night dress, as you do. And all the little dears said, oh yes dear, we all had night dresses, we know all about that. And they explained all about their sex lives when they were 20 and their 30s and the 30s and 40s. And they had better sex lives than I had. So this is Mabel's sex life, the first time she was kissed, and it's her story. I need a volunteer from the audience. You sir. That's how they make you volunteer in the army. I need a volunteer. You, Dempsey, 835572, sir. This is Stephen. He's equipped with the necessary anatomy to get this poem over to you. I shall be demonstrating on his body with this stick. No harm will come to any Stephens in this poem. This poem is called, well, Kiss My Popliteal Fossa. Stephen. I've never worked with you before, sir. Look, not up this way, not at that. Have I ever worked with you before?
No.
Do you know where your popliteal fossa is? No. Stephen was worried that it's going to get a bit genitalial, but it's not going to get genitalial at all. Your popliteal fossa, this is how I heard the thing first from Mabel. As you can see, this is a fella. Don't be fooled by his fellowness. because as Liddy will demonstrate here, women have patellas as well. As you can see, this is a knee. It happens to be a fella's knee, but women have patellas as well. Can you turn around, Steve? Now, you might, if you keep your eye on the knee region, you can see that Stephen is now shamelessly showing you the backs of his knee. This little depression here is your popliteal fossa. Thank you, Stephen. You may now sit down. That wasn't too difficult, was it?
Yeah!
Does anybody know what this is? There's all these body parts that nobody has any names for. This is your philtrum. This is your suprasternal notch. And they're all nice places to be kissed in. So, you've got to imagine that I am indeed Mabel. Mabel was very hairy, she had a moustache and a beard, wore a red hat, just like me. That's why I'm dressed like Mabel, as it happens. Well, kiss my popliteal fossa. I remember the golden tassels of my dress touching the back of my knees as I was kissed for the very first time, bent over in a clinch, as if we were statuary. The tassels touch exquisite in itself, much more sensual than the actual kiss, as I wondered, his tongue dancing with my tonsils, if there was a name for that sort of thing. The back of the knees, I mean. Okay, Freddie, I commanded, seeing as I seem to be in command here. That's quite enough of that. Shattered, he reluctantly took his tongue out of my cheek. Cheeky bugger, I thought. Should never have let him go that far. Crestfallen, he stammered a sorry. You won't tell my mother, will you? Hid his erection with his topper. I went in at once and asked of Father, Father, is there a name for the back of the knees? Of course there is, my love. It's your popliteal fossa. I tingled to my toes, having discovered my first erogenous zone and knowing that one day I would become a doctor. Thank you. I came to that Londinium, you know, where that woman had that baby recently. I came to Londinium back in 1986, and a couple of the first people that I ever met were 2 punks and a vicar. Something like you order at the bars. Can I have 2 punks and a vicar, please? Yeah, and you get it. And the first punk I saw was in Camden Market, and I noticed him because he was standing beside me. But what I noticed about him while he was browsing with his Mohican, I'd only seen punks in pictures. So in '86, 16 years afterwards, they were still a sort of wild creature to me. And I looked at his cheek, and he was looking with me over something like that, and there was a tug. And he had a chain of razor blades from his cheek, in his cheek, and another part of it went into a pin. And suddenly the pin was yanked. And he had this girlfriend, a punk girlfriend, and when she was ready to move, she just went yank, and he followed like that on a chain of razor blades and pins. And I thought, right, I've never seen that in good old Hicksville, Ireland. So I was quite amazed at this. My next punk I saw, I don't know if anybody knows Philip Glass, do you? Very minimal music. I went to see Philip Glass at the Royal Albert Hall, and in Amsterdam, the Dutch National Orchestra actually went on strike because it changes a demitone, a semitone, and it goes for half an hour, and then it suddenly changes that, and it does that and then changes like that. So the player said, we don't know where we are. We forget. We've gone for half an hour. Also, when the tones went for half times, the tones went, and we thought, oh, the concert has started. That was just the tones calling us back. There is a Philip Glass piece called A Dancer Prepares, and it's this soaringly high music that you'd have to be a very good opera singer to attain. And the voice goes up and up to an impossibility. And when it reaches its impossibility, what does it do then? Stop! Are you kidding me? It's higher than the impossibility. And it just soars, and you couldn't believe a human voice could do that. Meanwhile, it's counterpointed by the actual dancer as she dances, the physicality of dance. So you get this ethereal, high music that's human achievement, and then you hear the dancer's heartbeat, you hear her hit the floor, you hear her breathing as she does all the lovely steps that you see from a distance, and there's that physicality in it. And that's when I saw it. Punk number 2 is actually at a tube station, and he's busking. Yes. So it's a punk busking with all the regalia. He presses the button, and out comes Philip's glass, a dancer prepares. And you hear all the music, and he does the lovely high, throaty soprano. And you think, I didn't expect a punk to sing that. So I give him a tenner for his trouble. My third English person that was known to my person was a vicar. And he was like Bib the Michelin Man, layers and layers of fat. And he was a great gardener. He loved his flowers more than he loved God. And he was telling me about his flowers. So I had an English person telling me about cricket for an hour, and then I had another English person telling me about flowers and gardens for 3 hours. And this is the story of the vicar of Dublin, i.e. fat little vicar. It's called The Nurture of Culture. Have you a working pulse? He asked of his petunias. He went away cold as a snowball, he tells his gladioli. They positively beam at him. Oh yes, yes, he pontificates. Flowers like Shakespeare best, especially Pericles and other minor plays, rather than the Great Dane or say Othello. The herbs prefer Gilbert and Sullivan. Oh, wandering one. No, no, my son. Spoken, not sung. Sorry. Poor wandering one. Or sometimes a little dash of Noel Coward. What compulsion compels them, and who the hell tells them? No, no, my son. Spoken, not sung. What compulsion compels them, and who the hell tells them? What could I say? His voice produced such a fecundity, such a fertility, that his word could not be doubted. Oh yes, dance like to be spoken to, but prefer a little. Thank you. That is all the English people I met in my first week of being in Ireland. I can't go into the thousands of English people I've met since. So if you want me to write a poem about you as an English person, come up, see me in the break, give me details or particulars, or act in an odd way, and I shall poemify you. Okay? Last poem from me is called Dreaming of Being Real. This is just growing up with my little girl, and it's walking across the road with my little girl. You can get a poem out of that? Well, little girls are magical creatures, just like Liddy. Up till last Monday, Liddy was a little girl. In fact, we used to call her Lid the Kid. But now she is 21. So she's not a Lid the Kid anymore. But this is my Tilly when she was 3. It's called Dreaming of Being Real. I waited with the bubbles across the street. One big bubble winked at me. It had a rainbow just off key of its centre, like a cyclops eye. By it blinked and went out of existence. I felt sad. I had really liked that bubble. My daughter, waiting for red to go green, continued blowing families of bubbles. Some of the bubbles crossed the road before the lights changed and got hit by a 69 bus. Others busted on a lady's hat, but the lady didn't notice it. One hitched a ride on the exclamation mark, pretending to be a dog's tail. 2 little baby bubbles travelled over on my shoulder. Some newly blown bubbles dashed across the road, leading delightedly the way. Others disappeared up into the blue, so blue you wouldn't believe it, as if summer was trying to be a perfect picture postcard of itself. Hold my hand now, love. The father in my voice tinged the words with love and care. Okay, my daughter said, trusting the words. As we crossed the road, the bubbles in the bottle fell asleep and dreamed of being real. Thank you.